Everyone, and welcome to the September 22nd, 2025 Eugene City Council meeting. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Anyone wishing to access the meeting remotely can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed on the city's public webcasts and meetings materials page. Tonight's meeting will also include a public comment period. If you wish to speak and have not already done so, please fill out a request to speak form on our public webcast and meetings materials webpage or at the entrance to this room. We will accept request to speak forms until 7:35 p.m. and these forms will be used to generate the random order of speakers and correctly enter speakers' names into the public record. The public comment period will be 90 minutes or conclude by 10 p.m., whichever occurs first. And if the number of speakers exceeds the time we have allotted, we encourage speakers to consider abbreviating their remarks so that the maximum number of speakers will be heard. And I'll provide an update on that after we see the total number of speakers for tonight. For those joining the meeting remotely for the public comment period, you are also welcome to email your comments to City Council, and that is, of course, true of anyone offering comment. As a reminder, Council's meeting rules of conduct apply to all attendees, both in the chamber and also in the lobby, and include no flags, signs, loud or disruptive language, noise, or conduct that obstructs the business of the Council. And please keep the room quiet and respectful of all speakers. Only the individual who is speaking and giving their comment will be speaking during each public comment, and you are welcome to wave your hands in silent support. Additionally, we encourage those who are ill or who have been in close contact with others who are ill to join our meetings remotely rather than in person, and we have masks available in the lobby if you need one. In case of a medical emergency, an automated external defibrillator, an AED, is located on the counter behind staff at the west side of the room, and emergency exits are through the double doors located at the back of the room and the double doors at the front of the room. The doors to the patio can also be used as needed. And with that, I call to order the September 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Eugene City Council. We begin this evening with a land acknowledgement. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. This land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Alihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We expressed our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. The first item on tonight's agenda is committee reports and items of interest from council. So I now open the floor for committee reports and items of interest, and we'll begin with Councilor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm chair of our Intergovernmental Relations Committee, and I have a report for council. The 2025 Oregon Legislature's first special session is still active with House Bill 3991, Governor Kotek's transportation bill, awaiting a Senate chamber discussion and vote. The Senate is scheduled to have a quorum and take action on September 29. The House passed the bill on September 1st. The Senate has delayed deliberating the bill to ensure all 18 Democratic senators are present to vote, and it is a revenue bill that requires a 3/5 majority in each chamber to pass. I'll also insert at this point, I'm also the chair of the Metropolitan Policy Committee, which is a combined local governments in the metro area, and we deal with transportation issues. We are also kind of on hold right now, waiting to see what funding will be available for the next year. Moving on, the Oregon Legislature will also be holding organizational legislative days from September 29 to October 1. The city's IGR manager will be in Salem meeting with legislative members and staff to advance Eugene's priorities and lay the groundwork for the upcoming short session in February 2026. The IGR committee will be meeting on Wednesday, October 1st to discuss a draft priorities document, revisions to the existing state and federal policy document, and to discuss updating IGR administrative processes. This fall and early winter, the IGR committee will be discussing and providing input on all of these items with regular updates to the City Council via the committee reports process. Currently, mid-January is when the priority and policy documents is scheduled for City Council deliberation and action. Please let your IGR committee members, which include myself, Councilors Evans and Ye, or Mayor Knutson, the city manager or the IGR manager, know if you have any input or questions to follow up on. That concludes the IGR report. Thank you, Mayor.
And Councilor Ye.
Thank you. Today, I attended the celebration of the launch of the Sheldon McMurphy Johnson House Museum's Footnotes on the Butte project. And thanks to a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, this app-based audio and visual walking tour shares 7 different stories from the Skinner Butte area, although I learned that they're hoping to add more. These short histories, around 5 minutes each, include a diversity of subjects and people, highlighting the rich history of even this small part of our community. Local museums play a critical role in communities, especially now as parts of our government seek to control or sanitize our past. Recent actions by the Trump administration, such as executive orders to remove divisive and anti-American narratives from the Smithsonian and national parks, have led to cancellations, removals, and ongoing threats to exhibits that address race, slavery, gender, LGBTQ+, and indigenous histories. Museums have responsibility to share history that helps the public understand the full, sometimes uncomfortable, complexity of the past, not just what is popular or easy to digest. That includes histories of oppression, resistance, colonization, migration, and social change. The best museums make space for multiple perspectives, especially those historically excluded, and encourage critical thinking, not blind acceptance. Unfortunately, institutions like the SMJ House Museum cannot continue to create resources and programming like the Footnotes on the Butte if they don't have local support, especially with huge budget cuts to programs like the National Endowment of the Humanities that make these projects possible. These federal funding sources are critical for small, oftentimes underfunded institutions. If we want our cultural institutions, our museums, our archives, our libraries, to be guardians of truth, to preserve information, to uplift silenced voices, and to provide context that challenges revisionism, we need to be their guardians as well. You can access the Footnotes on the Butte from the SMJ House website, or you can download Bloomberg Connect's app on your phone, and you will have access to these histories, these recordings by diverse members of our community, and they are both at no cost.
Thank you. And Councilor Zelenka.
Thank you for saying that, Jennifer. I agree. I was at the Public Safety Coordinating Council last Thursday on the 18th, and that's a group that deals with the criminal justice and public safety systems in Lane County with a diverse membership of all sorts of providers of public safety. And the public safety and criminal justice systems in Lane County are in budget trouble. I entered the meeting in an okay mood, and I left depressed. In 21-23 biennium, Lane County contributed $2 million to these systems. 23-25, they contributed $5 million to the system. 25-27, the gap is now over $8 million. If that gap is not closed by either budget, by other revenue or whatnot, or legislatively closed, there's some dire consequences to it. The jail will cut 6 FTE, the county jail, and reduce its alternatives to incarceration program. Parole and probation will have a 35% reduction in staff. That will mean that they're leaving unsupervised parolees in our county, as well as cuts to the violence and sex offender units, and the victims of advocacy capacity will be reduced. Sponsors, which is a service for released prisoners to house them and give them services so they can effectively reintegrate into society, we'll see 388 high-risk people not having housing when they exit prison, and 65% cut to critical needs funding. And that was a depressing meeting. Those are pretty big numbers, and not a lot of solutions being talked about at the table. And without that, I think our public safety systems and criminal justice systems are going to be in dire straits in the 25-27 biennium.
Councilor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the Eugene Area Chamber of Commerce for the invitation to join the For the Trees conversation at the Eugene Science Center. I appreciated the invitation and the opportunity to connect with local leaders. Thank you. I want to thank the Whitaker Community Council for the opportunity to present alongside Councilor Leach and former State Representative Caddy McEwen to learn about the livability, economic, and community safety concerns revolving around the potential Port of Coos Bay International Shipping Terminal, potentially creating 2,500 permanent jobs and another 2,500 temporary construction jobs. I want to thank the Southeast Neighbors, SEN, South Eugene's Neighborhood Association, for hosting yet another successful community picnic last Saturday. In addition to the dozens of organizations present, including City of Eugene, Eugene Police Department, scores of nonprofits, and our very own Councilor Jennifer Yeh in attendance with community-supported shelters. So thank you for attending and participating, and for all you do on that front. And finally, I spent the last 4 days in Durham, North Carolina, participating in a municipal think tank of sorts. I presented on a panel and ended my my time at this summit by going door to door on Saturday in North Carolina, ensuring the voters who were unfairly and arbitrarily kicked off the voter rolls had a plan to re-register either in person, electronically, or by sending in the snail mail that came from their county elections, informing them that they were off the voter rolls. A good time in history to underscore and appreciate our system here in Oregon, especially our history-making vote-by-mail system, which encourages maximum turnout, has a paper trail that can't be hacked. So kudos and props, and everywhere I go and every time I'm at these summits, I like to underscore the awesome voting system that we have right here in the Beaver State. Thanks so much, Mayor.
Thank you, Council. I will add just a few more updates that are thematically related, and also a couple of projects and some things that have happened in our community in this last week that myself and some of our other councilors have been proud to be a part of. First, just an update that at our Poverty and Homelessness Board meeting last Thursday, the 18th, we heard an update from our county partners regarding changes in trajectory with federal funding as they relates to health and human services and housing capacity, specifically addressing the Poverty and Homelessness Board's areas of concern. And very helpful presentation from our county staff, a lot of expertise coming to those issue areas, but clearly laying out the challenges ahead as we have incredible need within the arenas of homelessness and poverty within our communities and across the country, and a significant shift in funding with this federal administration. So an update at that meeting on 9/18 that was very helpful. All partners in this work will be continuing to do our best to coordinate and communicate in ways that help situate our community to be resilient and also to weather what look to be some incredibly challenging times ahead. especially for the people in our community who already have the most difficult time accessing services and are the farthest from a currently stable experience within our community. Two other things to share, two other updates from last week. Another from also that same day on the 18th. I had the great fortune to have a full circle moment with our partners, our Affordable Housing and Community Land Trust partners in Dev Northwest, and the opening of the Nelson Place project. This is a project out in North and West Eugene, right across the street from Prairie Mountain School, which is a project of 40 new homes and a combination of community land trust projects and also middle housing across these 40 new homes in this neighborhood. It's a fantastic location for new housing with close access to parks and schools and jobs and transportation infrastructure. Also really inspiring to listen to those partners describe the opportunity that exists with these new homes that are now on the market in our community for about $200,000 less than market rate housing. So thank you to all of our partners, Dev Northwest and also the City of Eugene's support of these projects. The other update is another example of, I think, inspired community partnership. Several people within this room, and Councilor Groves and I had an opportunity to attend the grand opening last Tuesday, the 16th, of Everyone Village's recuperation cottages and the new community health clinic that are at that site. This project is a partnership among Everyone Village as one of our shelter sites with volunteers in medicine, with Peace Health, and also with 4J School District and our CTE program. And what this project is a collaboration to create a site-based community clinic and also cottages so that our unhoused neighbors who might need medical care have a location from which to recover from whatever experience that they may have needed to seek medical care or hospital services for. And it's truly a remarkable example of collaboration and what's possible when you hold a vision over time. The City of Eugene invested significantly in this site approaching 5 years ago when Everyone Village was first being established, and a graphic that was present at that event which showed 7 phases of investment and partnership across our community, really inspiring, and I was incredibly grateful to see all of the ways in which people engaged with that work and partnering in that work have been present over time, and we're acknowledged for that partnership. It's a lot of different perspectives from our public sector, private sector, philanthropic efforts from across the community to stand up that remarkable model. And congratulations to Everyone Village, Volunteers in Medicine, 4J School District, and Peace Health for that grand opening and that work. Not seeing any other updates from council, I will say thank you, and that concludes our first agenda item this evening. Our second agenda item is consent calendar 1, approval of City Council minutes, approval of City Council tentative agenda, a resolution requesting that jurisdiction over a portion of Gillum Road be transferred to the City of Eugene, an ordinance vacating a portion of Leo Harris Parkway, and a resolution adopting a policy providing that the affirmative defense described in ORS 166.3703G does not apply to the possession of firearms in city buildings where city official meetings are held. And if there are no questions from council, thank you, Councilor Zelenka.
You want me to pull the item, or do you want me to just ask the question?
I'm comfortable with the question if...
Okay, it's on for the city manager, or city attorney. On item E, the resolution adopting a policy providing affirmative defense. So the way I understand that is that I'm unclear on whether or not it prohibits bringing in a concealed weapon, but it eliminates the affirmative defense. I'm not sure I understand the difference. So if someone were to bring a weapon into this building, like Commissioner Lovell's bringing his concealed weapon into the county building in violation of their policy, apparently, how does that work?
The way the statute is written is that the statute actually prohibits the bringing a concealed weapon or any weapon into any public building. Then it lists out about 12, 13 affirmative defenses to that prohibition. And until this legislation passed, one of those affirmative defenses was a concealed weapons permit. So that effectively allowed somebody with a concealed weapons permit to bring the weapon into a public building, and the city and no local government had the authority to override that affirmative defense. So it's just written, it's just a way the statutory construction is. It prohibits it, but then it gave an affirmative defense to folks with concealed weapons. This legislation said, local government, you may choose to actually disallow that affirmative defense. So what that means is the prohibition is what would apply, but it is limited to those buildings in which official meetings are conducted.
Like this one. So if someone came in here with a concealed weapon, our friends in the back in blue would arrest that person, and then they would be prosecuted. And if they said, I have an affirmative defense of a concealed weapon, that would not apply, and they could be convicted of a Class A misdemeanor, punishable by 364 days imprisonment or a $6,250 fine.
That
if convicted,
they would be, yes, they would be prosecuted under that ORS for bringing a weapon into a public building. Yes.
But they have to be arrested.
They would have to be arrested,
okay.
Yes, and prosecuted.
Okay, now I'm clear. Thank you.
Seeing no additional questions from council, I will now, so sorry, Councilor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor. That brings up a question I have then. Do we still need to take some affirmative action before that were to take place, or does it just automatically take place with the state implementing this?
No, you are required. What the legislation, Senate Bill 243 allowed was for council, for these local governments to adopt a policy that specifically says that the affirmative defense doesn't apply, which is why you have that resolution saying it doesn't apply. And then the other thing, the other thing is it will require us, before we could take any action in enforcement, to post on our website the buildings on which this applies to, in which the affirmative defense isn't allowed, and also to post signs at the entrances so that it's very clear what buildings it applies to.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I will now turn to Council Vice President to put a motion forward.
I move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Any discussion from Council? Seeing none, I will now take a vote for this motion. Councilors, please lock in your votes on the tablets in front of you. Oh, I thought I heard a second. Yes. Thank you. Double clarifying. Second from Councilor Zelenka. Councilor Groves. And the motion passes with a vote of 6-1. Thank you, and that concludes our second agenda item. The last item on tonight's agenda is the public comment period. Public comment period is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Councilor on any city-related issues except those items which have already been heard by a hearings official. Staff, can you please share a list and the number of speakers that are signed up to speak by 7:35 p.m. and announce the first speakers?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 45 speakers signed up. If you are announced as the next speaker, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. Please leave any bags you may have with you at your seat. If you have documents to give council, please place them in the basket near the podium. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. The timer will flash red when you have 15 seconds remaining to speak. Your microphone will be muted at the 2.5-minute mark. Please note that the use of profanity is prohibited, and any instances of profanity will result in immediate termination of speaking privileges. Our first speakers this evening are Lynn Woodrich, followed by Brittany Quickwarner.
My name's Lynn Woodridge. I'm the Active Bethel Community Co-Chair. I've lived in the Bethel area over 30 years. I live in Ward 8. I'm speaking for the Active Bethel Community Board. 2 weeks ago, I sent you the link to a horrifying story about Stella Jones purchasing the Superfund site in Sheridan, Oregon, and starting up the same polluting business. I hope you've read it because you, as our elected officials, should help us avoid a similar fate in Eugene. I would also hope our city manager has read it. EPA allowed the new buyer to use the same toxic chemicals as Stella Jones had used, including pentachlorophenol, which resulted in renewed poisonous emissions into the surrounding neighborhoods. We should ensure we prevent any such calamity in Eugene. There's a public hearing on October 14th for the Public Health Standards Code amendments. Based on City Council direction, the proposed Land Use Code amendment will require that prior to the issuance of city development permits, an applicant must demonstrate that either 1, the applicant has been issued all necessary licenses and permits from pollution control agencies like the Lane Regional Air Protection Agency, LRAPA, and Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, or 2, the applicant has applied for the necessary licenses and permits, and the licenses and permits are likely to be issued. Who decides if it's likely? How's this going to prevent businesses like the biofuels transfer station and the fuel tank farm from locating in a residential area? It's critical that the public health standards with teeth be finalized soon so that the community is able to benefit and public health will not be harmed prior to Georgia Baxter selling the J.H. Baxter site to another polluting business. EPA says who can make a difference is lawmakers. Ask them to allow EPA more weight in reuse decisions. EPA and DEQ can only regulate what they're given authority to. Even city zoning laws make a big difference in what is allowed in reuse. The City Council could accomplish the suggestion that Councilor Leach made of narrowing the descriptions of the zone designations right away. The narrower zone verification request would give the planners a way to deny the most hazardous businesses. Then maybe we could have the legal basis to deny the fuel tank farm in the Train Song neighborhood. Putting protective zoning in place would have helped strengthen the city's position regarding the biofuels train to truck distribution center before the company took the city to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next speakers are Brittany Quickwarner, followed by Rick Osgood.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Brittany Quickwarner. I'm a resident of Ward 5. Tonight, I'm here on behalf of Downtown Eugene Incorporated, the Eugene Chamber of Commerce, and Downtown Eugene Merchants to talk to you a little bit about some of the issues facing our downtown core. Our chamber focuses on a lot of areas, and I recognize this is not the only one in the community, but the one I want to talk about tonight. Collectively, our organizations represent hundreds of people who live and work and invest their time and resources and livelihoods in our downtown core. Their commitment to this place ripples out and actually impacts the entire community. Many of those community members have come before you, sent emails, had coffees, gone on walks with you downtown, sharing ideas for how we might revitalize our downtown, and raising some pretty serious concerns about public safety and livability in our core. These stories are not isolated. They reflect the daily reality for employees walking to work, customers visiting shops and restaurants, families attending events, and residents living in our downtown. At its core, this challenge is not about one incident or one weekend. It's about ensuring a basic level of safety and order and vibrancy in the public realm every single day of the week. I want to acknowledge the steps that have been taken, the incident command system, the rapid response cleanup, the co-responder method that the city has implemented. They are greatly appreciated. And we've heard from a lot of businesses and people downtown that they're actually really helping. But I think two things can be true right now. They are making a difference, and it's not enough. We're coming from behind, and we have a lot of work to do to really make this feel like a place that folks feel safe. Right now, it remains unstable and unpredictable, and it's too often, really, people are saying that that's not where they want to be. Until we hear a clear and consistent message that this disorder in the public commons and across our community, for that matter, will not be tolerated, we're going to continue to see conditions that undermine the confidence in this downtown area. Earlier today, the city released a report from Uncommon Bridges. These experts reviewed how our community was providing services to our downtown to make suggestions on how we might do that better to align with national best practices. We appreciate that they called for stronger partnerships between the city and businesses and the university, and they also said safety and cleanliness, while not the only needs, will either succeed or fail and help those other efforts do the same if we don't focus on them. So I want to be appreciative of that effort. Downtown is our city's front door. People who live and work here and invest their livelihoods are on the front lines every day. and want to work with you, not against you, with you to help create a safer and more enjoyable environment for everyone in our community.
Brittany, our next speakers this evening are Rick Osgood, followed by Justin Burns.
Hi, my name is Rick Osgood. I live in North Eugene, and I'd like to express my opposition to the flock mass surveillance system. As a privacy advocate and security professional, I wanted to learn about the security of these cameras, so I acquired a flock camera myself to perform my own research, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that these devices contain numerous basic security vulnerabilities. For example, the camera models I've tested all include a single large button on the back, and pressing this button 3 times will allow you to connect to the camera over Wi-Fi using a very insecure password. Once connected to the camera, you can view the camera feed, shut down the camera, install applications, and essentially just take control of the device. These findings have convinced me that Flock does not prioritize security. The city of Eugene is trusting the same company with sensitive information of the comings and goings of every adult, teenager, and child in Eugene. And even if Flock fixes these problems, the idea that this treasure trove of sensitive personal information will not be targeted by threat actors and could never leak is naive. How many people in this room are victims of a data breach? Counselors, do any of these email addresses sound familiar to you? They've all been found in public data breaches. R.Groves at Eugene, 4 breaches. Allen at EPUD, 8 breaches. Oregon Matt Keating at Gmail, 12 breaches. Evans G at Lane CC, 20 breaches. You trusted private companies with your data, and they failed to protect it. Your personal information, including passwords, date of birth, physical address, and more, are now all exposed forever. Imagine if any random person could type your license plate number and get a list of everywhere you've been for the last 30 days because Flock was breached. What might that reveal about you? I spent 9 years as a security consultant legally hacking into companies for a living, and I can tell you that, unfortunately, there's no amount of security that can prevent a well-resourced and motivated attacker from hacking any given company. The only way to protect this information is to not collect it in the first place. The only way to protect all of our information is for the city to not collect it in the first place. We can't opt out. The responsibility is on you. So please cancel the Flock contract and take steps to protect all of us from this unconstitutional mass surveillance and tracking by Flock or any similar entity. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Our next speakers are Justin Burns, followed by Joe Martirana.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. It's crazy I have to say this, just, Google fascism. A system of government marked by a centralization of authority under a dictator, a capitalist economy subject to stringent government controls, violent suppression of opposition, and typically a policy belligerent nationalism and racism. There's people, there's people that I work with that don't even know what that fascism is. They think it's some kind of bad name from the far left. Again, at work, I was asked a young man in his about 1920, asked him who our enemies were in World War II. Sadly, he didn't know. I wish he did, but I had to tell him it was Germany, Japan, and Italy. Those were the axis of evil. Those are the main ones. And I also had to tell him that I was very proud of both my grandfathers who served in World War II to fight fascism. And it's insane that that word fascism is being described as a woke word. I mean, it's 2025. There's a lot of people in echo chambers, reading their own different news sites and thinking what is. So this Charlie Kirk assassination, he was out there. He wasn't a good guy. I think he was a pretty not good guy. He was racist, homophobic, transphobic. He was there to divide people. Do I wish he died? No, I don't wish he did, especially because now the U.S. government under Donald Trump, I call it a regime. They use that assassination to try to divide us. I mean, how scary is that? Would have Reagan done that? Would have Nixon done that? Would they have openly called for people to attack others? I don't think so. So with the flock cameras, we need to get them off. We need to get rid of them and release the Epstein list.
Thank you, Justin. Our next speakers are Joe Martirana, followed by Athena Aguiar.
All right. Hello, my name is Joe. I live in Ward 1, and I'm a student at the U of O. I know you've heard a lot about flock last city council meeting and the dangers surrounding it, and I know there's a work session planned, and that's good. But what's really important to keep in mind when talking about whether or not we're going to get rid of flock is the values this city holds. I know you know the horrific things flock has been used for. I've heard people tell you the stories. So when talking about flock, you have to consider whether or not punishing women for seeking reproductive care and abortions fits these cities' values. If targeting immigrant community members and taking them from their home fits this city's values. If targeting and abusing homeless community members fits those values. If punishing trans people for seeking gender-affirming care fits those values, because those are things that flock is being used for and can be used for. I chose to move to Oregon because it was a state that I'd be safe to seek reproductive and gender-affirming care. Flock is a direct threat to that. Prove that I wasn't wrong about what this city values. Say no to flock, turn off the cameras until your work session. Surveillance isn't safety. Choose to keep us safe.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speakers are Athena Aguiar, followed by Jesse Gandy.
Hello, Mayor, councilors. My name is Athena Aguiar. I'm a resident of Ward 5. Jacob told me that we need to get a bunch of people here talking about how we need to bring back cahoots, and I was like, they already decided that. What the heck? And he's like, no, it's not happening fast enough. Look at the agenda. This is an unacceptable agenda. I'm like, there's the license plate reader thing. Yay. But I actually forgot what this amendment to the budget committee thing said that Alan wrote. And maybe you guys also forgot it, because it says to bring back the commitment to bring back results before the end of October. And now I understand why Jacob's so pressed, because that's next month. And there isn't something on the agenda that I can see. And also it says, and I forgot this, which is super cool, it says potentially reallocating existing community safety payroll tax funds. So I wanted you guys to remember that too, that said that. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Athena. Our next speakers are Jesse Gandy, followed by David Eigel.
Jesse Gandy, Ward 1, greetings. In February of 1890, the City Council moved to extend a number of city streets on county roadbeds within the corporate limits of Eugene by passing Ordinance Number 109. It contains 10 surveys provided by the City Surveyor to the City Council, numbered 10 through 20. Number 15 is a viewing of 8th Avenue beginning on the west side of the public square at Park Street. This survey heads west from there 30 feet short of a mile to reach the western city limits at Polk Street. So according to this piece of the Eugene Municipal Code, 8th Avenue from Park to Polk was under city jurisdiction as of February 10th, 1890. My property is about halfway at Lawrence and 8th, and it's the location of the right-of-way of 8th that informs my property's boundaries. The Office of the City Surveyor says their records indicate 8th Avenue was a county road with a 60-foot width until March 20th, 1916, when a jurisdictional transfer took place and the city widened the newly minted 8th Avenue by 6 feet. I requested to see their records and was sent a road file for West 18th. The surveyor that I hired was also not provided these records and was told repeatedly to set 8th Avenue's boundary at 66 feet. A second surveyor was then hired to find my boundaries and was given some secret files not available to the public. With bias, the city surveyor's office gave differing information to 2 different licensed professionals about the exact same property and ultimately testified in court as to the validity of their county road and eminent domain theory. They still refuse to provide the records that their belief is based on, and I'm hoping you can help me track these documents down. I know we all want to defer to our experts, especially our publicly funded civil servants, but that trust and deference is easily abused when these officials are allowed to proceed in unchecked behavior. The actions and inactions of the Office of the City Surveyor indicate that they believe they can subvert our municipal code, fabricate history, and enact procedures of eminent domain on behalf of the city when and where it suits their purpose and benefits their friends in the private sector, all apparently with no need for documentation. But if those records do exist, I would ask that you help me find them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Our next speakers are David Eigel, followed by Carolina Karoglina.
David Eigel, Ward 1. I was pleased to see that Michael Schill's dishonesty finally caught up with him. The Board of Trustees of Northwestern University gave him a one-way ticket on a streetcar named Disgrace. Mr. Schill not only lied about and defamed Professor Dunn, but many other Oregonians as well. I recently sent copies of the May 13, 1924 Eugene Morning Register to the members of the City Council. In this front-page article, the Reverend Frederick Jennings, the rector of St. Mary's Episcopal Church, while serving as a member of the Eugene School Board, acted as a forceful opponent of the Klan. He exposed their concealed actions in not rehiring any of the Catholic teachers. This was not hidden history. It was reported on the front page of the local paper. Yet the U of O Dunn report, a disgraceful, dishonest smear piece that was falsely presented as documented history, deceitfully describes the Reverend Jennings as an active Klansman. This lie, one of many included in the U of O report, was then repeated in the Lane County History Museum's Disgraceful Racing to Change exhibit when Jennifer Ye was the director before her being booted out. Mr. Evans helped Schill promote the Dunn Hall denaming, thereby misleading the public into believing that this was the righting of past wrongs supported by the city government. Neither has taken redemptive action to set the record straight. In this community, there are many individuals involved in government-sponsored promotion of false history. Two of the worst are Lane Commissioners Lori Traeger and Heather Buck. Confronted with cold hard facts that they were promoting filth, rather than honestly addressing the issues, they engaged in completely unjustified, false, and defamatory personal attacks on myself. These attacks have only served to embarrass them. I am sick and tired of non-native Eugenians and non-native Oregonians coming here and promoting lies about our history. I will be submitting action requests. I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our next speakers are Carolina Gonzalez-Jackson and Dylan Cianci.
Good evening. My name is Carolina Gonzalez-Jackson. I am a proud immigrant, a mother, community member, and a Ward 2 resident. And I'm here today. I'm front-loading my support for the libraries, and as a taxpayer and a constituent, I want to ask you all, especially my Keenan, to vote and support in full our libraries. The libraries have a special place in my heart, not only because they're important, because me as a community member, when I moved here, I couldn't work for the first year because I was doing my paperwork, and my husband worked minimum wage. The only access we have to culture, to a safe space, to all the things was the library. That's where my babies went for story time. That's where I studied for my citizenship exam. That's where I went on the weekends when we have no money to do anything else, and we had access to museums, to all of the things. A gentleman was talking about surveying, my friend John. He was able to find the limits of his house borrowing a metal detector from the Library of Things. When during the pandemic, we borrowed the routers for my kids to be able to be homeschooled. I can keep on going. The libraries have allowed me to be an active member of this community, to improve my English through their talking time. And all of that is resources that get paid through our taxpayers like me. And we need your support. We moved here 15 years ago. I moved here 15 years ago. My husband is from Eugene. Since we moved, it's been the whole thing about the funding the libraries. I also want, furthermore, not only full, please, I'm asking you to support them in full, but start looking about what could we have done if 15 years ago we work in a system that we can have our libraries fully funded. So it's a special place. And yesterday I attended the Peace Day proclamation. Mayor Knut spoke beautifully about the importance of community, and our libraries embodied that vision. Our libraries is a building of healthy, respectful, inclusive communities for all. I used to be a case manager, and I'm an HR professional, and my work has always been centered around people, equity, and inclusion, and libraries reflect those same values, and they deserve our full support. I really want to invite you to think about that and to really not pinch pennies and try to cut what they're going to be proposing, because it's amazing and it's important, and they're never fully funded. In my life, 12 seconds, I want to also raise an important issue as an immigrant and a person who belongs to the disproportionately targeted community. The lack of transparency around FLOC is this.
Carolina.
Thank you.
Our next speakers are Dylan Cianci, followed by Mike McFarland. All right, do we have a Dylan? Maybe Dylan's in the lobby. No. All right, our next speaker is Mike McFarland, and we will call for Dylan one more time after Mike.
Hello, my name is Mike McFarland. I maintain a family home in Ward 4. I also work as a communications consultant for the fire union, but today I'm addressing you as a constituent. I'm here to speak about the urgent need for more resources in Eugene's fire and EMS services, and why a fire district is the right path forward. Over the last 20 years, our city's growth has far outpaced our emergency response. In the 1980s, fire crews could reach 90% of the calls within 4 minutes. In 2003, that average had stretched to nearly 5 minutes, and today we're over 7 minutes. Those extra minutes are critical. In the case of a cardiac arrest, it can mean life or death. At the same time, our community has grown upward as well as outward. New high-rise housing, particularly in the university area, adds new vertical challenges. National standards say that it takes 43 firefighters to safely manage one high-rise fire. Right now, a single multi-story emergency would require every firefighter in Eugene, and we would still fall short of that standard. The demand on our system is relentless. Springfield Fire, Eugene Springfield Fire responds to more than 130 calls a day, and 3 out of the 4 are medical. Ambulances are stretched so thin we run out of ambulances daily, and when that happens, fire crews must cover medical emergencies and start life-saving care. And while that saves lives, it also leaves us with less resources for the next call. A fire district offers stable, dedicated funding and local control we need to meet these growing challenges. It would allow us to manage resources at a true scale of demand, improve staffing, and strengthen our ability to prepare for disasters like wildfire and high-rise incidents. Most importantly, it creates a structure where fire and EMS are prioritized, not competing with the library, parks, and animal services for funding. The truth is simple.
Thank you, Mike. Your time is concluded. One last call for Dylan Cianci. All right, our next speakers are Laurel Lizovskis, followed by Brian Thompson.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Laurel Lizovskis from Ward 2. One of Willamette Valley Crisis Care's national partners involved in community-based violence intervention, Aquila Sellers, recently did a TED Talk on actionable hope. He was a part of the team that brokered the first peace talks in LA in response to gang violence back in the 90s. And he says, public safety is a shared strategy that requires an ecosystem of programs that residents trust. Cahutians have been an essential partner in reducing harm in our community for decades. We have heard and understand that folks are struggling to assess and quantify this work, and we know that you all have been bewildered along with us by a lack of data and communication from the program's parent agency. Now that we have formed our own organization, we can promise you the collaboration you all deserve to steward the city's money and energy toward a shared goal of community safety and stability in times of crisis. In the city's 2025 Eugene Community Survey, 4 out of the 5 most urgent community concerns, homelessness, housing, public safety, and livability, are all areas deeply impacted by cahoots, who took 45% of calls that could go to police or cahoots from 2016 to 2020. We represent a partnership that saves money and impacts people's lives in ways that deserve to be a priority moving forward. We are a connection point to stability and housing. We work with research partners right here in Eugene who have been committed to this issue for some years now and are thoroughly invested in helping Eugene and naming the worth and impact of cahoots-like services. As cahoots workers, some of us at WVCC have been working with these amazing researchers for a couple of years now, despite the challenges, and we know that the research will be able to help us assess diversion rates, cost savings and funding, The impact is a point of referral for connecting people to housing, recovery, and other resources. WVCC is ready now. We ask you to help us fund a pilot so we can get our Cahootans back to work and articulate our worth. We can't learn anything without the vans on the road. I've tendered my resignation at Whitebird after 10 years. It was a heartbreaking decision, but after multiple unsuccessful attempts to collaborate, I am wholly devoted to WVCC and honoring this model, moving it forward for another 37 years. Our boots are polished, our hands extended toward the people who need us and want us back. Let's break through this barrier and help us fund a pilot for WVCC.
Thank you, Laurel. Our next speakers are Brian Thompson, followed by Ken Willis.
My name is Brian Thompson. I live in Ward 2. I find it especially apropos that Councilman Zelenka was noting that our public safety infrastructure is going to be underfunded due to federal shortcomings. And I find it interesting that this is a moment when we're choosing to invest in a new, expensive, and unproven surveillance system that's going to be pulling resources in the long term from some of those incredibly valuable programs that he mentioned. I bring this up in light of the new flock system because surveillance is not public safety. Surveillance has never made us safer, whether it was CCTV, automated license plate readers, or even chest-mounted cameras on officers. Surveillance is a tool of law enforcement. It's a tool for punishing people after the fact. Surveillance is not deterrent, and it does not address the root causes of crime. It does not address poverty. It does not build houses for our unhoused neighbors. It does not provide medical care for the people who need it, or mental health care for the people who need it, or addiction services for the people who need it. Surveillance exists to punish, and it exists to punish dissent. Shut down flock now. It's currently surveilling us unlawfully every day, every one of us in this building. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Our next speakers are Ken Willis, followed by Tyler Hickson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ken Willis. I'm from Ward 5, and I got a story to tell you. I'm the parent of an autistic child. She has an IQ of 53. She is catastrophically autistic. Very small life enjoyment that she has. One of the things we have as a family are evening walks. We get to go on an evening walk. She gets out of the house. She gets to spend some time outside, which is a big deal for her. So lo and behold, how excited we were when we walked out of our neighborhood, and there's a flock camera looking at us. So here's a fun little fact about flock. They have a gate software so that anybody that's drunk in public has a strange walk is noted in the system and the police are called out. So I have a kid who walks with an asymmetrical, atypical gait. So we already deal with a lot of emotional issues with her, a lot of truncated sociability environments, and now you've made it even worse because my wife doesn't want to take her out on a walk anymore because we're afraid that the police are going to tag us because she's walking in a strange way that might be perceived as toxic or public intoxication. You've taken an impossible situation as a family and you've made it even worse. So we don't feel safe. We feel marginalized. We feel shoved into our neighborhood. Here's the fun part. I live in a court, so I cannot come or go without Flock, a private security company in Atlanta, Georgia, knowing what I'm doing. I'm thrilled. You have to imagine how thrilled I am at this. So we can't go anywhere with an autistic kid other than a walk in the evening, and you've taken that from us. So to the city manager and Skinner, thanks a lot. That's my time.
Thank you, Ken. Our next speakers are Tyler Hickson, followed by Danny Espinoza.
There we go. I wanted to thank Council Member Keaton for the support for the public libraries. I really appreciate it. I'm Tyler Hickson. I am Ward 3. I live here in Eugene. I am originally from Austin, Texas, a place I don't have high regard for. I moved away from there because I didn't like it. I didn't like a lot of the lack of public transit. I didn't like the allergies are worse there, if you believe it. The terrible heat, lack of representation, because one time we tried to ban plastic bags and the state came and overturned it. So I'm not a big fan of living in Austin, Texas. I am incredibly embarrassed that Austin, Texas banned flock cameras and the place that I moved has not. I am embarrassed. This is not... I'm getting secondhand embarrassment here. Like, we pay for it too. We're paying for this. I don't think that many, I don't know that it was voted on. I'm pretty sure it was not voted on. We could put it to a vote maybe. I don't think anyone would like that. I mean, I don't know why we're talking about this. This feels like such an easy done and deal thing. I was expecting, when I came to start, getting more involved in politics, that we'd be talking about more substantial things. It feels like it's an easy win for you guys. You say you don't support mass surveillance, and this is obviously mass surveillance. It's very clear. It's very obvious, even if you don't know anything about it, and the people that do keep saying it's mass surveillance. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Our next speakers are Danny Espinoza, followed by Pete Goldlust.
Hello, I'm Danny. I live in Ward 1, and I have a few words to say about flock. There is no constitutional standing for the unsupervised mass data collection that is happening across this country right now. Is deliberate exploitation and a loophole around our Fourth Amendment right. There is no warrants, there is no active investigations, it's simply mass collection and the presumption of guilt. I have the right to walk my dog, ride my bike, and drive to school without feeling I'm living in a George Orwell novel, 1984, and Big Brother is watching me. To those that may see the benefit to flock cameras, there are, as they are partnered with 49 states and multiple different police agencies, who can access your data and collect it without warrant or active investigation. On such a premise, there is no oversight to what the police can do with that data. There's multiple headlines of police, like in Wichita County in Kansas, who used flock surveillance cameras to stalk his ex-wife. Or maybe you would like to hear about the Texas Sheriff's Office that arrested a woman after she sought prenatal care out of state to get an abortion. Or how U.S. Customs and Immigration is using it to stalk marginalized groups and arrest them and conduct things without warrants and without accountability. Is that what the city of Eugene wants to be? Do we want to be the next headline saying of misuse of this information, this data, our personal information, your personal information, to justify and say that these cameras aren't safe? And in the Eugene public website, it says that these cameras are in places and in public spaces where there's no reasonable expectation for privacy. Yet there is no reasonable issue for probable cause either to collect this data in the presumption of guilt. The Eugene County states that similar license plates readers are already accessible with the DMV, and to that I say the DMV never abused their power to stalk people. There is a grant given that is $391,000 given to Oregon to combat market and car theft, which is what this grant is given for, to pay for flock. How about we use it to properly staff the DMV that already has access to a lot of this automatic license plate reading that flock is used for? There's little information on where this data...
Thank you, Danny. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Pete Goldlust, followed by Danny Patch.
Hi there. My name is Pete Goldlust. I live in Ward 1. I serve on the city's Public Art Committee. I want to express my appreciation that the City Council seems to now possibly be engaged with rethinking the unconstitutional and lawsuit-ready agreement that our current city manager signed with the Flock Corporation. It should be painfully obvious to all of us at this point that it would have saved us all a lot of grief if we had a city manager who gave this kind of thoughtful consideration before we entered into this agreement with a predatory and unscrupulous data profiteer like the Flock Company. So now that we're hiring for that job, I hope the City Council will seek out a candidate that has the clarity of mind to think twice when the EPD comes to them next time, over and over and over, seeking out ever more advanced, ever more intrusive, ever more high-caliber military-grade tools to help them surveil and track and impose control on your constituents as they go about their business on the mean streets of Eugene. I hope the council will find an interview for a candidate with the judgment to know that they are ultimately serving who they're ultimately serving in this position. It's not supposed to be the police department. It's supposed to be the people of this community. I hope the council will search for someone with enough moral bearing and sound judgment the next time when presented with a piece of paper that's as grotesque and stupid as the current horrible, no good, very bad contract with Flock, that this new city manager will hold up for just a minute and give that decision the consideration it deserves. I hope the City Council will look for a candidate that will have the humility to seek input from the many thoughtful and informed and reasonable people in this community that will be affected by the next agreement. They've been showing up for these meetings. Clearly, they're willing to make themselves available and share their time and expertise and experience, and none of them are seeking to profit from sharing what they know with you. Wouldn't it be less embarrassing and time-consuming and expensive and stupid if we hired a city manager that gave the people in this community enough consideration to run these things by us first? I urge you to look for that person, and I urge you to impress on them that this is what you expect from them. Wouldn't it be nice if we did this the easy way next time? Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Our next speakers are Danny Patch, followed by Annie Perkins.
Just a side question. I'd like to know what happened to the money that was raised this summer to about the fire service fee, the silly little rally you had, and you raised something short of $15,000. What happened to that money? Where'd it go? So anyway, I think we are hitting ourselves against the wall here. We're dealing with the city council that has already approved the surveillance. They're the ones that helped put it up. So why are we begging them to change their mind? I think it's time to change them. It's time to get rid of these people that are traitors and stabbing us in the back. In a very short time, you have spent tens upon millions of dollars for yourselves. And let's make this really clear. You bought this broken toilet here for yourselves, not us. And then you steal our vote on, be able to vote on operating levies. So we no longer even have a voice that deals with our vote, our fundamental right as an American. You talk about democracy. What a hypocrite you are. A blatant hypocrite, Madam Mayor. And now you're watching us. You're not just watching us, you're recording us. You're recording us. You're just, and then you take our city streets, you steal our lanes, and you create these chaos of traffic nightmares, and it destroys our business, it destroys our way of conducting ourselves, and it holds up our emergency services, as you've just heard. These people are broken. We need to replace them. They're not serving us. They're a bunch of self-serving, self-dealing enrichment fiends. And all they're doing is stealing our money and our vote, and now they're recording our movements. It's time to get rid of these fools. It's time to replace them. Stop begging them for something they've already decided to do. They put the cameras up. These are the people that did it. Well, they okayed it. Rubber stamp. We like watching you. Otherwise, you would have fought like hell and not done it. You know, start telling the truth for once, Madam Mayor. I asked you point blank, and you lied this summer. You lied to a whole group of neighborhood associations, and it was so pathetically disappointing.
Thank you, Danny. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Annie Perkins, followed by Melanie Helms.
Hi, my name is Annie. I live in Springfield technically, but my life and my work and everything I do is in Eugene, and I'm from Eugene. I'm standing here tonight because I am afraid of the path that our country is going down, and I don't think y'all quite see it. I don't know. I don't think Police Chief Skinner sees it. I want to paint the image of Eugene, Oregon within the broader strokes America is making in 2025. Police raid unhoused encampments, seize their belongings down to their clothes and their legal paperwork, while major television networks call for their murder. We have defunded Cahoots, a program that represented compassion and humanity. Our president just labeled transgender individuals as terrorists and called for the removal of free speech for those that speak ill of him. 1,800 human beings detained in a Florida facility we call Alligator Alcatraz have simply vanished. The Supreme Court is considering a case to potentially roll back same-sex marriage rights, and right here in Eugene, the Department of Homeland Security agents patrol our streets, intimidate our elders, and make a spectacle of those they detain whenever they can at the federal building. We are not measuring the damage of this administration in years, we are measuring it in months. And if this is what can happen in a matter of months, the aggressive push for flock safety in our city is not a coincidence. It's the next logical step in a fascistic regime. The crackdown on speech, the rewriting of immigration rules, the nostalgia for a mythical, pure past are pages straight out of the Nazi playbook, and flock safety works with ICE. It has not shied away from that fact, and by signing a contract with Flock, you have not only let Nazis into the city of Eugene, you have given them AI-powered mass surveillance of a magnitude we've never seen before. This isn't just theory, this isn't just speculation, this is a Google search. I urge you to remember your history, and I beg you to connect the dots yourselves so that people like us don't have to do it for you. Don't be complicit. And there are a lot of people here tonight, and that seems to be the theme these days. And if we don't get to everybody tonight, I would request that we give everybody more time to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Our next speakers are Melanie Helms, followed by Jeffrey Gordon.
Hello, good evening, City Council members. My name is Melanie Helms. I'm a Eugene resident of Ward 3 and a paramedic, working for Eugene Springfield Fire for over 2 years. Last year, during a difficult pregnancy, I was told when I moved to a light duty assignment, I would receive the same light duty pay adjustment that every other pregnant firefighter before me had received. Despite support from my peers, my supervisors, my union, and even our fire chief, the city of Eugene denied me that accommodation. Instead, I was forced to use my earned leave to cover lost wages or work longer days while pregnant, squeezing 6 days into a traditional 5 days. Forming a fire district would give Eugene Springfield Fire the autonomy to make fair decisions for its firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs, and the resources to better serve our community. I feel as if an elected fire district board focused on improving our working environment would not have acted in this manner. Beyond my personal experience, I want to emphasize how strained our system is. On the medic units on which I primarily work, we are often so busy that we run out of ambulances to respond to emergencies in the Eugene, Springfield, and nearby rural areas. We are understaffed and stretched thin. It's only a matter of time before it's your loved one that will be impacted by this. I urge you to support the creation of a fire district so that we can better care for our firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs, and the people that we strive to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Our next speakers are Jeffrey Gordon, followed by Kai Fireside.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Gordon. I live in Ward 7 and work as a licensed psychologist. Briefly, I want to say that you need to reinstate Cahoots services ASAP. There's a mental health service access crisis in Oregon, and lives are on the line. I'm primarily here to ask that you cancel the contract with the Flock National Surveillance Network as soon as possible and ban ALPR systems from the city of Eugene. Federal agencies and police departments have been empowered to persecute immigrants, women seeking abortion, trans folk, BIPOC, the unhoused, and human rights activists. The Flock National Surveillance Network has already been utilized to persecute some of these groups. Its presence will invite a lawsuit from the CLDC. End the contract now if you give a damn about protecting the vulnerable members of our community. And when it comes to your work session, do not trust a word that the Flock corporate representative says, and do not take Chief Skinner or any EPD representative at their word, because they have already lied to the public about the capabilities of the spy system, and they've circumvented the authority of the City Council in getting it installed. Well, except for Councilor Groves and our city manager. They knew it was happening. Yep. Finally, I would also ask City Council to issue policy prohibiting any economic ties with the State of Israel and Israeli companies. There is a Holocaust happening in Palestine. Every relevant international body, human rights group, and genocide scholar has declared that a genocide is happening. If Eugene is a city of peace and a city that honors indigenous people, it should put its money where its mouth is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Our next speakers are Kai Fireside, followed by Ellie Urbancic.
And just a brief reminder to the room that when the speaker is at the podium and speaking, they should be the only person speaking. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kai. You've seen me before. Tonight, I want to preface that I am not accusing anyone of anything. I am just asking some questions. Maybe some of these questions are things you can ask during your work session on Flock. What is EPD doing with so many searches each month? Some agencies publish how many searches they do each month. Reno, Nevada has done 118, Olympia, Washington, 117. When I checked EPD a couple weeks ago, it was 1,300. Today, it's down to 900. Why is the per capita search volume so high? And then there are questions about the individuals doing searches. We have the audit logs. We have one user who has searched Flock's database 11 days in a row. Is it normal for an officer to work 11 days in a row? We have multiple people searching for more than 6 days in a row. We have a user that has made 186 searches since July 1st. How is one person making as many searches as an entire county? Are officers working a ton of overtime? Don't we have a budget issue? If it's not overtime, are people sharing their login info? Are they being asked to work off the clock? Are they searching on their personal time? EPD has a contract for 57 cameras, but the so-called transparency portal lists 67. Why the discrepancy? I did a ride-along with another jurisdiction. They had Flock cameras running on their dash cams. Every single car that the deputy drove past, the plate was recorded, even if it was in a driveway, even if it was someone in their own home. If there was true transparency here, we would know answers to many of these questions. My last question, though, is this. Why are we the ones doing all of this research? Some oversight body should be doing this. As we have repeated to you over and over, this system is designed to evade oversight. There are places I would rather be right now and things that I would rather be doing, but this is so important because we are on the edge of giving up a huge liberty here by allowing this. You do not have to be surveilled everywhere you go. That is not a quality of living in a free and just society. Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. Our next speakers are Ellie Urbancic, followed by Chris Case.
Hello. My name is Ellie Urbancic. I'm a resident of Ward 3, and I would like to express my concerns regarding the Flock surveillance system. I think there's an idea that the many potential harms of the Flock cameras can be mitigated or eliminated by responsible use from the city of Eugene. And I think this idea misunderstands the harms many of us are deeply concerned about. The decision to install this system has been made within a national context of retroactive political action. In recent months across our country, students my age and younger have been confronted in their homes by riot police for nonviolent actions they engaged in months earlier, with no way of having accepted this risk at the time. Individuals who have been medically transitioning for years or decades are now facing a massive wave of state scrutiny and criminalization, along with those seeking prenatal care. Those who are visibly disabled are excluded from public life in the form of mask bans. Unhoused community members are harassed and incarcerated. Immigrant families who follow every legal hurdle to be here are ripped apart. The harm in the Flock system does not lay solely in the city of Eugene's potential lack of thought while using the data it collects. It lies in the very collection of this data. Every second of these cameras rolling creates tangible danger to the marginalized residents of Eugene by providing the means to identify, locate, and retroactively incriminate them. Most crucially of all, no matter how this data is used, its ongoing collection is harming the people of Eugene. I should not have to wonder whether it's safe for my immigrant loved ones to be seen in public with me after I've participated in peaceful protest or civil disobedience. This chilling effect, this fear, is real harm. I implore you to decide in your upcoming work session to end the City of Eugene's contract with Flock immediately. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ellie. Our next speakers are Chris Case, followed by Chloe Longworth.
My name is Chris Case. I'm a resident of Ward 7. I am a statewide executive officer for SCIU 503, and I'm a local member of PSL Eugene. I'm here before the City Council to demand that the Flock contract be canceled and to furthermore point out the hypocrisy of a body of people that will come up here and talk about our most marginalized members of our community and yet directly install things that would make their lives worse. It's almost as hypocritical as reading a land acknowledgement in the same city, state, and country that is making money off of a genocide in Gaza right now. These things can all be changed. City councilors serve at the pleasure and discretion of your constituents. And I see that, that may seem like a smug thing to laugh about to some members of the City Council, but it's true. And we have the power to change who's on the City Council, and we can make sure that it represents the values of the people in this community. And I think we're going to start doing that as soon as we get some new city planners in charge here and some new people that actually give a damn about what goes on in this city. To reiterate, Flock needs to go. And it sounds like, from the way that some of these resources have been squandered and the way some people have done things in the dead of night by making deals with Commissioner Skinner, some other people need to go too. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Our next speakers are Chloe Longworth, followed by Kevin Russell.
Hey, everybody. My name's Chloe Longworth, the she, they pronouns, and I'm a resident of Ward 7. Are y'all tired about hearing a flock? Is it tiring yet? Done this twice now this month. Sat through 90 minutes last time of constant talk about how flock needs to go. Makes me a little sleepy. I don't know about y'all, but it's pretty clear that the people want flock gone. This isn't just like a one-off group of people. This is the majority of the people coming here. This is the majority of the people that want to say anything to speak up and represent the city that they live in. We speak to our representatives saying, hey, this is how we unanimously feel. And we get nothing back from y'all. And it is sickening. It is so tiring to live in a city where I am screaming for my rights and fighting like who knows what for my rights every day and hearing nothing back. And it is making me tired. But I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep telling y'all to get rid of these flock cameras as long as we have them, and I know that there are a lot of people behind me that feel the same way. We are tired, but we are not defeated, and we will keep coming back, and we will keep demanding our protection from this dystopian nightmare that we live in.
Thank you, Chloe. Our next speakers are Kevin Russell, followed by Fiona Gledhill.
Kevin Russell, Ward 7. Wire flock cameras illegal. United States Constitution, Amendment 4 of the Bill of Rights. Quote, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. No warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. No, we're not taking people to jail, but Are we secure? No. In our persons. Everywhere we go, there's flock cameras. Unreasonable. It's unreasonable. Searches and seizures. Yes, you seize people by knowing where everyone is all the time. You have been seized here, you've been seized there, seized everywhere. You know, and with the federal powers that be, you know, it's not going to be long before people are executed, tortured, imprisoned. Yeah. This is the result of flock cameras, you see. The end of the result, they're illegal. They have to go. That's all.
Thank you, Kevin. Our next speakers are Fiona Gledhill, followed by Josh Easterland.
Good evening. I hear the word tired so many times. I also am here after 4 tiring years of trying to get honest information or appropriate response, or actually response of any kind at all, regarding an accurate accounting of the public right-of-way and sidewalk location adjoining the downtown city streets at the corner of 8th and Lawrence, where I own and operate property. Without exaggeration, I have sent hundreds of emails to all of you without reply. Phone calls too. I'm sure you recognize my name. These polite requests begging for and imploring the help of the current and former mayors, both Lucy and Karin, Councilperson Semple, Kaczynski, among all of you. In 2021, I reached out for help for defining the proper delineation between the boundary of a city street at 8th and my private property abutting it. After a lot of persistence, in 2023, I received a first reply. In 2024, City Surveyor Jim Colton, Engineer Jennifer Willer, and the Public Works Director presented a report and action item summary to all of you here with a recommendation to transfer a piece of public land to me by council vote after presentation and review. Weeks later, Jim Colton testified under penalty of perjury to a Lane County court that same transfer and deed that he had written under the city attorney's guidance, is from what my understanding is, that was represented, the land that was vacated was invalid and illegal. He also swore that I owned another 3 feet south, apparently forced upon my predecessor in interest via an unrecorded act of proposed eminent domain. Though no evidence of such a highly limited and precious constitutional power has apparently ever been recorded, nor any record of the just compensation required by both the Oregon and the United States Constitution was ever presented to me. Ms. Jerome, the city recorder, no one has ever responded to any of my requests. By willful ignorance or purposeful tyranny, the Eugene City Surveyor has empowered a private party to acquire land illegally, and more importantly, unconstitutionally. There has been no public record presented in support of these actions, and with palpable disdain, the city recorder has admittedly no recorded evidence of any document, ordinance, recordings, or any kind to support this wholly illegal theory and wildly inappropriate action, and complicitly refuses to look at the wanton wielding of these fabricated laws and the public suffering caused by disseminating unverified.
Thank you, Fiona. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Josh Easterland, followed by Sophia Weir.
Howdy, City Councilors. Nice to see you all again. I hope you had a good summer break. I'm just going to continue reading the resolution that I got for the, I'm Josh Easterland, Ward 8, Equitable Access Eugene, trying to decriminalize the ability to grow, gather, and gift psychedelic plants here in the city of Eugene. I left off here. Whereas practices with entheogenic plants have long existed and have been considered to be sacred to human cultures and human interrelationships with nature for thousands of years, and continue to be enhanced and improved to this day by religious and spiritual leaders, practicing professionals, mentors, and healers throughout the world, many of whom have been forced underground. And whereas seeking to improve their health and well-being and the health and well-being of others through the use of entheogenic plants, and must use them in fear of arrest and prosecution. And whereas the entheogenic plant practices of certain groups are already explicitly protected in the U.S. under the doctrine of religious freedom, the use of ayahuasca by two churches, the Santo Daime Congregation and the União de Vegetal, and whereas the United Nations considers entheogenic plant materials used for ritual purposes as excluded from Schedule I substances, and whereas entheogenic plants containing ibogaine, for example, have been shown to alleviate treatment-resistant cases of opiate and methamphetamine addiction at significantly higher rates than all other treatments for addiction. In addition, ibogaine is reported to be beneficial for addiction therapy related to specific work-related PTSD encountered by first responders, such as EMTs, police officers and firefighters, as well as military veterans. And whereas entheogenic plants or combinations of plants such as ayahuasca that contain the forms of DMT, a naturally occurring compound in the human body that is listed as a Schedule I substance, can lead to experiences that are reported as mystical or experimentally similar to near-death experiences, and that can be demonstrably beneficial in treating addiction, depression, PTSD, and in catalyzing profound experiences of personal and spiritual growth. And I'll stop there. See you guys next time.
Thank you, Josh. Our next speakers are Sophia Weir, followed by Carol Crum.
Okay. Hello. I live and work in Eugene. I'm a former resident. I also was at the Springfield City Council meeting. A lot of people were speaking about flock, and yet they still apparently were installed today. I think that it's really not okay that a third party, not the city or the police department, has access to this data. This is all of us. And I mean, like, it threatens the rights of everyone, our privacy. People have mentioned constitutional rights, children's faces and behavior, like parents don't even have the ability to protect their own children. Like, and also like vulnerable groups that could be anyone and our loved ones. I mean, like, I identify as a woman. Like, if I ever needed to seek abortion, like that could be criminalized. It could be trans people, immigrants. We talked about a land acknowledgement. Like, we're acknowledging that people were displaced off of this land, meaning I'm a white person. Like, my family are immigrants to this land. Like, why? And I mean, like, houseless people. So just like vulnerable groups, that's a lot of people, and like it's like real danger. And flock cameras are easily hacked. Somebody else really spoke strongly to that. And I mean, also the police departments, there have been many instances of racial profiling where it's like, oh yeah, many instances. You can just look it up online. It's falsely finding people. These violations are not an okay trade-off. It's dragnet policing, it's preemptive policing. And like, it's not justice. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? It's everyone. So there's also a study released by Flock citing its success. This was literally refuted by the academic who did work on it, and also it was done by Flock employees. So Flock is a for-profit company. It's not about justice, it's to make money. And these cameras are going up without public knowledge and consent. Like, I mean, there's just like, basically people have been advocating against them, and it's going on ahead. That's not okay. And there's so much more to say. Like, it doesn't save money, it takes up more energy. We have climate change, like we need water, AI. This is all expanding without our consent. Like, this is our life.
Thank you, Sophia. Our next speakers are Carol Crum, followed by Maya Barliv.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Carol Crum, and I'm a resident of Ward 2. My comments today are not associated with my employer. Safety in our community is a value that I'm sure we all share. However, should safety come at the risk of our privacy, of freedom from mass surveillance? Surveillance does not equate to safety, and I'm urging you all to void the flocked contract. When our country is descending into fascism, expanding tools of mass surveillance is a bad idea. I urge you to think of the challenges our immigrant neighbors, BIPOC, disabled, queer, trans neighbors are already facing in this political climate, and think about how the flock cameras may be used as a tool to further harm us. Flock also has a history of violating their permit terms, and I encourage you all to void the contract to help improve community safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Our next speakers are Maya Barliv, followed by Stefan Streck.
Good evening. I was here to talk about flock cameras. My name is Maya Barlev. I'm from Ward 2, and I want to give one detail about how these flock cameras have been used in other states. Because I heard that Senator Ron Wyden, it was on the news over the summer, got assurances from flock cameras that they would block any request from out-of-state agencies that mentioned immigration or abortion. Unfortunately, that's not really going to work very well because it relies on the agencies that are making the request giving the reason honestly why they're making that request. And it was found, for example, in Colorado that what they would do is that one of the accounts that had access to a local flock system, a police officer would share his password with the ATF. And then the ATF would make these requests on behalf of ICE. So this whole thing was happening without anyone knowing until it was already reported in the news. Very similarly, there was an incident in Illinois that happened the same way, but this time it happened with abortion. A sheriff in Texas had requested this information. So just getting assurances that they won't use this information improperly, it's naive to hope that the bad actors that we're trying to keep this information away from will be honest and transparent with us why they're trying to get this information. And it is scary information. I mean, it is, where everyone has been, where everyone is, where they've gone, what they're doing. It's not hard to think of the misuse. If we want to not to be misused, like it's been said, the only safe way to keep that information out of the wrong hands is to not put it all in one place, collect all this information all the time, put a little bow tie on it. And of course, they've also started offering services for predictive algorithms. Now, that should be obviously scary that they're using it not just without a warrant, not just without probable cause, but they're actually using it to generate probable cause on anyone, since they're surveilling everyone. That's clearly not okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Maya. Our next speakers are Stefan Streck, followed by Dan Allred.
It's appreciated. Thank you, City Council and members of the public for addressing the evening. My name is Stefan Streck, and just like every single person who's spoken, I'm against the flock cameras. It's important to note that fascism is not a right-wing or left-wing ideology. It's simply the corporatization of the state and turning over the state function of security and law enforcement to the hands of a private corporation is literally the textbook definition for fascism, which you've signed on to. Regardless of that, you can just please feel free to ignore everything I have to say, as usual, and please just imagine that we all here have just about 2 minutes left to live. Now, this summer, unfortunately, there were about 4, maybe 5 deaths, I believe, which happened just not too far away in this river, which is right next to this building. And it bothers me because this happens every single year, that good people in this community die because nobody has the common sense and decency to say that this must stop. There is a Lowhead Dam, which is not visible, and especially if you're new to town, here for the summer, wanting to get out of the heat, the central water feature of this town is something that most people would consider a safe option. It ought to be maintained and managed in a responsible way. And this has not happened. One of these people who died this summer was a boy, I believe, about 12 years old. What do you think he had to look back on in those couple minutes at the end of his life? As black and dark as the sky out there today, and nothing has been said about how to prevent this from happening next summer. Not even 30 days later, a man probably about 50 years old with rafting experience died basically in the same location. Now, this is something that actually takes the city council to make a solution happen. Don't insult people by talking about a conversation, a discussion, or a review board. Fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Our next speakers are Dan Allred, followed by Hunter Hutchins.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Daniel Allred. I serve as the Vice President for IFF Local 851. I'm here tonight to speak to you about the current state of your fire department. In 2003, I took an oath as a firefighter to protect the lives and property of the citizens of Eugene. I take that oath seriously. It guides every decision I make, but with each passing year, it's becoming more difficult to uphold. Looking around this room, I see leaders who deeply care about this city, leaders who understand what it's like to lead in tough times. My fellow firefighters and I are here because our emergency response system is approaching a breaking point that puts our safety and our community at risk. When I began my career at Eugene Springfield Fire more than 20 years ago, the job looked very different. On a typical shift, we would respond to 3 to 10 calls. In that time, we had time to look at fire protection systems, emergency response plans, so that we could respond quickly and effectively. Today, most engines and medic units respond to twice as many calls. Training is no longer consistent. It is rushed and interrupted. Calls are more complex, and too often I have no idea where the closest medic unit is coming from. Sometimes I'm forced to make impossible choices, like pulling the paramedic off the fire engine to upgrade a basic life support ambulance to an advanced life support one. But doing so takes a fire engine out of service, which means slower fire response times for the service area. Let me be clear. Response times are increasing. We often have less than 10 minutes to contain a fire before it becomes too dangerous, and even less time if someone is trapped inside. This is life or death. Since 1981, calls for service have increased by more than 1,000%. Let me say that again, 1,000%. Yet not a single additional fire suppression unit has been added to the city of Eugene. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm here to offer solutions. Creating a fire district won't fix 4 decades of underinvestment overnight, but it will put us on a path toward sustainability and long-term improvements. The merger of Springfield and Eugene Fire Department was the initial first step, but right now our budget is vulnerable. Year after year, demands for emergency service, however, are not. The community deserves better. Eugene Springfield Fire already functions like a regional fire department. It's time to fund it like one. We need a system that is stable, resilient, and built for the future. We need more units, better coverage, faster response times, and we need guaranteed funding that only a fire district will bring. In closing, let me say this. Every oath I've ever taken was about protecting people. We need your help. We need your leadership. We need a fire district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Our next speakers are Hunter Hutchins, followed by Jojo Breslin.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Hunter Hutchins. I live in Ward 1. Across the alley from my apartment is a commercial property that installed a loud refrigeration machine which runs on and off all day and all night. It keeps me up when I'm trying to sleep. It interrupts me when I'm trying to record audio or video. It disturbs me when I am trying to concentrate or just to relax. Even with my double pane windows closed, this noise is heard throughout my apartment. I contacted code enforcement to ask them if it was permissible. In my discussion with the inspector, he said the most stringent application of city code for this scenario would be a limit of 60 decibels. I got the impression there wasn't a specific code for this situation. He was just trying to find the most applicable code. They measured 58 decibels at the property line. That's 58 decibels after midnight, too. I put a program on my phone to measure noise, which the inspector reminded me isn't that accurate, but it's just to get a general idea. The phone suggests that there's a 17 decibel difference between background noise at night and when the machine runs. That is 43 decibels to 60 decibels after midnight, all night long. Since decibels are not linear, 53 decibels is actually 100 times louder than 43 decibels. And I remind you that the inspector measured 58 decibels outside my bedroom, and that is below the code limit of 60 decibels. I asked the City Council to look at developing a specific standard for the noise in which a neighboring property can make on adjoining dwellings. In this case, it's concerning an industrial machine in a residential area. For instance, you could say properties adjoining dwellings cannot produce noise exceeding 50 decibels. You could also include a time differential. For instance, you could, between certain hours, noise adjoining dwellings must not exceed 45 decibels, and we expect that during business hours there will be more noise, but during nighttime hours people relax in their homes and need to sleep, so the standards could be higher then. I am in fact not the only resident affected by this bad neighbor. In fact, 6 other nearby dwellings are similarly exposed to this machine, and I suppose across the city there are other examples of which I am unaware. If you're interested in the specific details of my situation, I can furnish a letter to City Council for that.
Thank you, Hunter. Our next speakers are Jojo Breslin, followed by Cameron Stringfield.
Hi, City Councilors and Mayor. I'm Jojo Breslin. I'm a resident of Ward 2. Be relatively short and to the point. Wanted to talk about the flock campaign, mainly about your guys' upcoming work session. I just really want to stress the point to make sure that you guys do have subject matter experts in there that are not just the Eugene Police Department. It seems like between Chief Skinner and the EPD, they either have like a willful ignorance or generally just misunderstanding of some of the facts behind the flock system. And so I just think it would be crucially beneficial to have other voices in that session. And then I also just want to take a moment to talk on cahoots. As it was mentioned, the idea was to have cahoots here relatively before the end of the year, and there still has been a whole bunch of motion on that. And I think it would be entirely beneficial to get their services back on the street, be it through a pilot or other sort, so that we can start getting people support, especially as we've heard that we are not having that between EMS at the moment and the crisis that we are kind of seeking, or that we are in. We should not be seeking. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jojo. Our next speakers are Cameron Stringfield, followed by Chuck Arford.
Good evening. My name is Cameron Stringfield. I live in Ward 7, and I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I want to start by thanking you for scheduling a work session to address the flock mass surveillance system. Firstly, I understand there is no public comment at this upcoming work session, so chances are city officials will be going back and forth with questions to EPD and the vendor flock about this system and making conclusions from that. I'd like you to take everything EPD and flock says with a big grain of salt. Of course, it's in their interest to present flock as a tool to fight crime that is secure and in EPD's control. Flock is not likely to admit the vulnerabilities of their system or to the abuses of it that have already occurred, neither is EPD. So I'd highly recommend city councilors should reach out to folks from groups such as Eyes Off Eugene, the CLDC, and the ACLU and take their analysis to that meeting. I'd also like to make clear what I've heard from dozens of people speaking here and hundreds of people I've talked to in Eugene. We will not accept attempts to make flock safer. It is an inherently dangerous and intrusive system that is peddled by a shady corporation that sells our data to whoever pays good money for it. We are demanding that the contract with Flock be terminated, the cameras uninstalled, and this situation to not happen again. And should they continue to stay up and rolling, we will continue to show up to these meetings, to protest, to combat the propaganda, and to educate the people of Eugene and Springfield about the danger of this system till it's gone. We're a proud activist town that will not back down. In the city survey that wrapped up recently, it was revealed that only 36% of respondents have some confidence in city council. It's a bad approval rating. Only 30% rated the value that they receive for their city tax dollars and fees as good. After the loss of cahoots, the budget nightmare in May, the silence on ICE kidnappings and DHS violence towards Eugene residents, intensified homeless sweeps, and the fecklessness regarding the behavior in the police commission, the installation of Flock has been a slap to the face of Eugene. You've destroyed trust, which builds a wedge between the government and the community that will only result in more resistance. You have the chance to reverse course on your mistakes this year, and that can begin with terminating the contract with Flock. You can do it. And while I have a few seconds left, I'd say we've only got about 10 more people in this room. If we get to the end of public comment, please extend it.
Thank you, Cameron. Our next speakers are Chuck Arford, followed by Jacob True. All right, our next speaker is Jacob True, and I'll call for Chuck one more time.
Hello there, Jacob True here. I live in Ward 1, and y'all have seen me a few times before. Cahoot services save money. Cahoots help folks in crisis before situations escalate. One way you can sort of sum that up a little bit is by saying that Cahoots services are effectively preventative medicine in addition to crisis response. Cahoots is nationally recognized. The New York City mayor, Democratic nominee, is calling out Eugene, as of the Cahoots system we had like a year ago, as a model that they want to follow. How often is New York City calling out Eugene as the shining city on the hill that they want to follow? Nevertheless, Eugene has been without Cahoots services since April of this year. It's 5 months and counting. Breaks my heart that we're still here trying to convince y'all that Cahoots services are worth bringing back. You can fix this. You can bring Cahoots services back. If you need additional research on whether Cahoots is worthwhile, you can issue a research pilot program with the Cahoots service workers sitting and waiting to serve the community. This research program can expand and reinforce the research already done by the University of Oregon and help bridge the widening service gap suffered by our community. At the recent City Club meeting, veteran Cahoots workers, including Lauren, who spoke here a little bit ago, laid out how WVCC is ready to go out on the streets. WVC has secured fiscal sponsorship to function as a 501c3 organization. They have robust internal controls and compliance, a fully staffed board, insurance secured, staffing, payroll controls, the list goes on. You can listen to that if you want to go into all the details. Dandy Colhair talks about it in detail. The only thing missing at this point is action from council. I hope that y'all seize the opportunity to fulfill the promise that 30 years of Cahoots service has done for our community and hope to have another 37 years in the community. I'd like to call on y'all to schedule a work session on getting full Cahoots service back, talked about that before, and in that session, empower a bridge pilot program to add to the overwhelming evidence of Cahoots services effectiveness and efficiency. Fulfill the recommendation that y'all passed at the city budget to have a plan in place by the end of October. You have one unfilled city council work session coming up. Two. So either one.
Thank you, Jacob. One last call for Chuck Arford. All right, our next speakers are Robert Parrish, followed by Misty Bowman.
Good evening. My name is Robert Parrish. I'm a 25-year resident of Eugene, now in Ward 7. I've been working on Cahoots for 21 years. I have tendered my resignation to Whitebird for their mismanagement of the Cahoots program, and I'm now with WVCC to bring Cahoots-like services back to Eugene. Now we wait for an RFP. In our city, between 2016 and 2020, Cahoots did 45% of the welfare checks for the city of Eugene that were appropriate and not needing the police. As we are the least expensive public safety response, one of our deliverables is that every call you send me to, and my coworkers to, means that an officer or a paramedic or a firefighter is available to respond to something of higher priority. Even in major cities, 40% of police responses don't result in any enforcement or any crime prevention. No ticket, no arrest. It is less expensive to send alternative response to those calls. If you're dealing with budget crises, this is one way to make sure that the police, the fire department, the ambulances are more available. We don't cost that much, and we take a lot of the calls. We take a fair chunk of the workload. The number one most common call for the City of Eugene police officers right now is criminal trespassing. That doesn't seem like a thing that we need to prioritize, but it is what is coming in. The vast majority of those calls are appropriate for a Cahoots-like service. I will highlight that the city of Salem has slightly more population than Eugene, yet they spend roughly $20 million a year less than we do in Eugene on our police. It's about $65 million a year rather than $87 million a year. Salem wants more officers, but they only have 25 fewer than we do. A more appropriate allocation may be somewhere within that $20 million difference, particularly as you're looking at budget shortfalls. I will leave you with this. WVCC has about a dozen former Cahootans with combined decades of experience waiting to get back to work and restart services. Cahoots-like services are beloved by the community and they're cost-saving. Our deliverables include making officers, paramedics, and firefighters more available for higher priority calls. We, the people in Eugene, need the City Council to release the RFP so we can get back to work.
Thank you, Robert. Our cutoff time this evening is 9:25, so I will call for 2 more speakers, and that's Misty Bowman, and our final speaker will be Elijah Walensky.
Good evening. My name is Misty Bowman. I live in Ward 7. I'm a Dark Sky Oregon advocate, and I'm here to discuss light pollution. Firstly, quickly, I'd like to ask everyone to turn off your porch light tonight. Draw your curtains tight. It's an important night for bird migration, and any amount of blue light can lead birds astray. However, birds aren't the only thing affected by our light pollution. Bugs are as well. Councillor Keating, I remember at former Mayor Vinnie's last public comment, you talked about how charmed and amazed you were by her insect collection. I myself have fallen in love with moths over the last year, an insect particularly affected by light pollution. However, ex-Mayor Vinnie's didn't just share her love of insects with coworkers, she shared it with children. When I Googled if Eugene had a bug club, the first result was an article from 2018 of Lucy Vinnie sharing her love of entomology at an eco summer camp with children. Imagine if one of those children was inspired to have a love of insects and found out every night in Eugene insects were dying en masse. For every insect trapped in the glare of a light fixture, 1/3 of them die of exhaustion before sunrise. And we aren't just depriving children and Lucy Vinnie of our beautiful insects. I was born outside of the Boston metro area and didn't know the stars for the first 10 years of my life. Then my family moved to rural New Hampshire, and my very first night there, my mom tells me I looked up at the sky and said, "Oh, that's what stars look like." I can only imagine a child born and raised in Eugene would have the same reaction. The costs for our children aren't just hobbies and a pretty night sky. A study from the National Institute of Mental Health published in 2020 showed that adolescents in areas with higher light pollution got about 20 minutes less of sleep per night and had higher rates of mood disorders, especially depression and bipolar disorder, conditions that can follow a person for the rest of their life. I once again urge the City Council to revise and enforce the outdoor lighting ordinance to a new ordinance guided by Dark Sky International's 5 principles of outdoor lighting, so our children can see the stars and sleep easier at night. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Misty. Is there an Elijah Walensky? All right, our next speaker will be Rich Locke.
I didn't think this was going to happen. Hi, I'm Rich Locke, Ward 7 business owner and the founder and president of the Eugene Business Alliance. I do want to bring up that this morning when I was eating my Cheerios at the breakfast table, I was listening to a morning show and I heard a glimpse of the dismal Eugene survey again. I'll read it to its complete and so I'll have a better comment. I'd like to talk about Ward 7, Ward 1, and East Ward 8 and the effect that the homelessness and the unlawful acts that are happening every day around our businesses and homes in these neighborhoods is having. These residents are continuing to bear the messes, and the nonprofits they're being made by the nonprofits' customers. I believe that the nonprofits should have a substantial levy against them to clean up all of the messes from their customers. I would like to bring it a little closer to home right now and talk about Willow Creek south of 18th Street. I've mentioned several times in this meeting that there should be no parking, no camping on Long Willow Creek. Willow Creek is plagued. I've called it here before a unsanctioned car camping spot. anywhere from 6 to 8 every evening, and they do nothing but leave messes. And especially in the Willow Creek watershed, there at the corner. It's just piled full of toilet paper, poop, you name it, it's right there. And I don't believe as a community we're being good here and now stewards of that watershed. Please put in the no camping signs.
Thank you, Richard. Mayor, that is the end of public comment.
Thank you, staff. I will now close the public comment period. Are there any comments from City Council?
I'd like to move to extend the public comment just to allow the last 3 people to speak.
There's a motion to extend public comment for the last 3 remaining people to speak. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to extend public comment for the last 3 speakers. Councillor Keating, discussion or question?
I wasn't planning on talking about that, Mayor. I was going to respond to the public comment, but since I've got the floor, I want to be consistent in the amount of time we have to let folks speak. I look at the clock and I see we do have, what, it was 5, 6, 7 minutes until 9:30, if that clock's accurate. So it's not. It's bar time. Well, yeah, either way, it's such a small number, Mayor. I think that I would make an exception right now, but I would urge council to adhere to a consistency around our 90-minute time mark, considering there's 3 folks remaining if they are here. And I think it would be a disservice not to hear them, while at the same time recognizing in the future, I do think that some consistency is welcome. So I'll vote in favor, but I just wanted to share my perspective. I guess it's an inconsistent request, isn't it?
So we went 90 minutes.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other discussion from Councillor before we take a vote for this motion? Seeing none, take a vote to extend for the last 3 public comments this evening. And that vote passes by a vote of 7-0. So we will extend comment for the remaining 3 speakers this evening.
Oh, all right. Our final 3 speakers, I'll name all 3. We've got Jessica Lane, Andrew Simrant, and Bailey Gilmore. So our next speaker is Jessica.
Hello. I'm here to tell you that I'm scared for my safety because, according to Donald Trump, I'm a domestic terrorist. Because I volunteer my time demonstrating against ICE kidnappings, speaking out against federal attacks on the working class and labor unions, and advocating for bodily autonomy. We're living in some twisted reality where the President of the United States is making empathy and advocating for the well-being and safety of others a terrorist act. The Heritage Foundation has made a recommendation to the FBI that trans individuals also be designated as domestic terrorists based on dangerous, hateful, and grossly untrue rhetoric. Women are being targeted with homicide charges for obtaining abortions and, in some cases, having miscarriages. Immigrants are being kidnapped, held in concentration camps, and shipped off to countries that they're not even from. The federal government is attacking the very people it's supposed to protect and are using these flock cameras to aid in their efforts. There's no time to waste wondering about whether or not to shut down this mass surveillance system. You are our next line of defense. There was never any consideration for installing these cameras in the first place, so why are you making it so difficult to take them down, even if just temporarily during further investigation? You've heard an extensive, justifiable, unanimous reasoning to cancel this contract. What more do you need? Please don't be complicit. Please do your job and keep Eugene safe in the midst of this authoritarian crackdown on our most vulnerable, and do so by canceling the flock contract. Thank you, and thank you for extending the time tonight.
Thank you, Jessica. Our next speaker is Andrew Simran, followed by Bailey Gilmore.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Mayor. My name is Andrew Sermon, and I reside in the River Road neighborhood. I'm coming to you to speak out against the use of the flock camera system. The city should immediately halt use of the system until the work session comes up. Potentially that's a motion that you could introduce tonight. I think it's prudent and doesn't, we can have the system paused until further investigation can be made about it. And clearly much of the community does not want this system in. It was not a transparent process. And, as a previous commenter had mentioned, there's been a lot of searches and queries into the system, and I'm willing to speculate that part of that is that the Eugene Police Department is looking in collaboration with Flock to kind of sell the citizens on how great this system is. And I see Sinclair owned and aligned affiliates here locally in our community that are putting out these press releases about the AI system and how it's purportedly used to combat crime. But these press releases, I'm not seeing anything about due process or the constitutionality or anything like that, and it concerns me very much. So I would implore you to shut off the cameras until the work session and hopefully make a decision to remove these cameras out of our community for good and cancel the contract with Flock. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. One last call for Bailey Gilmore.
Hello, Council. Thank you for extending the time. I'll be brief as the last speaker. My name is Bailey Gilmore, and I live in Ward 1. I am really glad that we got to hear from the last two speakers as well. You heard some really serious concerns, as you have heard throughout the night and at other council meetings, and I want to echo the calls to stop the data collection with Flock immediately. This is something that needs to be shut down right away. It's collecting data every minute. While you investigate, I'm glad that you have a work session, but it needs to be shut down before you make a determination. Thank you.
Thank you, Bailey. Mayor, that was our final speaker.
Thank you, staff. The public comment period is now closed. City Council, any other comments this evening in response? Councillor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. My phone has died, or I would have it up verbatim, and my 8th grade English teacher, Mrs. Rogers, would be sorely displeased that I'm not remembering the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States verbatim, something to the effect of Congress shall make no laws respecting the establishment of a religion or prohibiting the freedom of the speech of the press thereof. I so appreciate you exercising your First Amendment right tonight. Thank you. I'm deeply troubled by some of the things I'm hearing. Quote, palpable disdain. Dystopian nightmare, our country descending into fascism, even being called self-serving and self-enriching fiend. Look, I hear you. I empathize and I recognize this moment in history and the fears and trepidations revolving around a surveillance state. So I look forward with your help getting us there and recognizing my colleagues' willingness to advance a critically important work session poll. I look forward to the work on October 8th. I look forward to hearing what off-ramps there are in regards to not renewing. I look forward to what off-ramps there might be in regards to the current contract, and is it violating any existing city policy. I look forward to learning if there have been any complaints to the independent City of Eugene's police auditor program. I don't know, but we have an independent police auditor, and I'm encouraging you to use said independent police auditor if you have not yet. So thank you. Shifting briefly, Mayor, to the Cahootans in the room. Thank you. I have shared with the mayor and the city manager and the assistant city manager, and just tonight, Laurel, my enthusiasm for something I picked up while I was in Durham this last few days, a program called HEART, the Holistic Empathetic Assistance Response Team. You can learn more at heartforthis.org, heartforthis.org. It's Durham, North Carolina's version of Cahoots, modeled after Cahoots, but there are some unique differences and some challenges they have taken on, and I hope you will find, because obviously I've got 22 seconds left, I hope you will find the program that's happening in Durham and programs that are happening all over the United States that were modeled after Cahoots as an inspiring way to resurrect and bring back a new Cahoots, a Cahoots 2.0, and WVCC, thank you for leading that charge. Mayor, colleagues, thanks for the time tonight, and thank you for coming out and expressing your First Amendment right.
Any other comments from council this evening? Seeing none, I will just echo that appreciation for people who came out this evening and have reached out to express their perspectives and preferences and concerns. And I just want to reiterate something that I know you are all well aware of, but it's always important to say, is that these meetings and listening to public comment is not the only work that your mayor and this body are doing to respond to the concerns that we hear within community. And so I just want to reiterate my appreciation for people being here this evening and sharing their perspective, and also my appreciation for the coming work session. With that, I will close the September 22nd, 2025 City Council meeting, and we are adjourned.